Welcome back to What's Up TV, everybody. And tonight, obviously, the Teamless Tuesday. We got preseason footy coming our way, and we got a special guest again, consistent viewer and now consistent guest on What's Up TV. Josh, how you feeling, my brother?
Oh, 2 weeks in a row. I think I'm getting the call up to the side. I might be like a little Sean Johnson taking over from Brett Seymour, maybe that kind of vibe. So
I was going to say, yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. I am sick today. So I was more so looking at, like, I'm the number 7 Luke Metcalf this week, and you're Tomato Martin. You're the experienced half that's going to carry me through the show right now, brother.
Happy to do that.
But really exciting show coming up today, guys. Obviously, we got to talk about the Zion Ma'u news. Very, very sad day it was yesterday when we saw that. But Teamless Tuesday, that will perk us all up. Obviously, we're really excited coming into this season to see what we look like. We're going to go through all the big talking points for the Teamless drop, and then we're going to finish off the show with a little bit of our junior updates and any questions from the comment section. So comments, make sure you filter all the way through. And as I said before, guys, I am sick today. I'm still sick. I'm trying to recover. So hopefully I don't sound too horrendous in that. But before we get into the show as well, I also do want to shout out one of our consistent viewers that shouted us out on the Levels network. Tahi, bro, if you're in the chat, brother, we do appreciate you so much. Honestly, when I saw that, when I heard it, I was at work, bro, and like the smile, man, I had, it was crazy. Did you get to hear Justin Horror shout us out?
Absolutely, man. That was sick. That was so cool. Shout out Levels.
Bro, shout out Levels too. Yeah, shout out Levels, man. Like, incredible. They're doing a great work. And like, they didn't have to do that sort of stuff. And they've been talking for the last couple of weeks of like, podcasts and just content creators trying to build in the space is what it is now. And it is definitely a tough gig, but we're all working through it. And I appreciate all you guys' support. Honestly, you guys are absolutely amazing. Jazz, good to see you in the chat. Tahi, good to see you there. As Tans as well, good to see you there. Sorry, Tans. Josh, Team RK. Warriors Forever, Jacko here, always here, baby. Great to see all you guys there as well. Team McKay would be good to see. Levels and Bloke in a Bar, you guys are moving on up.
I think it's the same level now.
100%. And if Josh is a consistent guy jumping on the show, mate, hey, we're going to have to get that bank details of you, baby. We're going to be throwing some of them checks if the Levels money comes our way, right?
Hey, I'm all for it.
It'd be great, but yeah, very, very exciting show to get through to as well, guys. And later on the show, if you guys want to question any of the NRL news and all that, make sure you chuck them in the comment section down below, your thoughts on that. Obviously, the NRL coming out with a couple of different things, that have really shaken up the league at the moment. But what's shaken up the New Zealand Warriors yesterday, brother? Zion Ma'u signing a 2-year deal with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, leaving the Warriors effective immediately. Your thoughts straight away, bro, when you saw this news. Obviously, Zion heavily prospected through our ranks, and to leave us the way this has happened, very sad news.
Oh, bro, I was sitting at my desk at work, and I got the notification come through, and it just ruined my day, man. And Monday, it was bad enough, right? And then Zion. I mean, he's a Glenora Bear. He's a Tat Rooster, where I grew up. And so, having this kid that, you see him come through and it's, oh man, this kid's going to be the next thing. And then just for him to move on. Again, don't know everything around it. It sounds like, different opportunities, family, whatever it might be. It was so sad seeing him in the Bulldogs blue today.
I know.
I couldn't do it.
Oh, bro, it definitely was a sad one. I actually got tipped off on this a little bit before. I didn't know. Me and another content creator were talking back and forth when this other content creator actually got the tip off on this very early on. And we're going back and forth as like whether this was true, what was going on. I was like, sometimes this doesn't it just fizzles out and that. But I have heard the rumor, multiple different things. He definitely was chasing, a starting spot in that. But I also heard there was a family situation as well, which I don't really want to go too much into. I don't want to throw around rumors that may not be even true as well. But all we do know is he is going to be a doggy for the next couple of years, and whatever's going to happen there. I'm really unsure where the doggies really fit him in. I'm pretty sure their top 30's pretty much locked in from last time I saw, unless they do a couple of moving pieces. But he definitely has the ability to push himself into a good role with the Dogs and play off the bench for, a decent amount of minutes and become like that momentum forward type of player, right?
Yeah, so one thing that I saw a lot of Bulldogs fans, even towards the end of last year when they were, crying out for signings, it was all middle forwards, and they
Yeah,
were going after that Pahulu from the Titans as well.
exactly.
And so it looks like they were looking for a middle forward, and it just so happens
Yeah.
that it worked out for them. Gus probably sold him the Sydney dream, the Bankstown dream.
Yeah.
Took him to a Chinese restaurant. We know the drill with Gus. And so yeah, I mean, to me, he could be a superstar, right?
Yeah.
He could be someone that we'll regret losing, like an Ali Katoa.
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn because I hope he's I hope he does really really well because
Yeah.
he's a Warriors boy after all. We've
100%.
brought him through the system, but I just it's hard, man. It's a good place for him to go. The Dogs are again lacking on middles, so it's it could be like a real good opportunity for him, but also it's just so sad.
It's definitely sad, bro. I totally feel ya. You guys, obviously, guys, we've done tier lists of this. My thoughts on the young crop of forwards that were coming through, and Zion definitely is within that mix, and he's got a ton of potential. A really aggressive forward. He can develop into a superstar. But obviously he's still a wait and see. He's still a project type of player. But just knowing the look of the man, he does look like he's going to be a really nice forward, whether he's a decent starting prop forward in the NRL or he becomes a superstar, right? Either way, I'm sure Warriors fans will get behind him. Every Warriors player that ends up leaving us, I know every Warriors fan pretty much, holds on to their career and just follows them all the way through because they're Warriors for life. And I think that's one of the best things about this club. It's the worst thing as well, losing a junior of that ilk as well. But unfortunately, this is what happens in the NRL. The Panthers have been having to deal with this for years now because their development system's actually firing. And I'm not talking about players getting stolen from the top, side, their grand final sides and that. We're talking about all their juniors that get pinched even before they even get to that side as well. They've been dealing with that for years. And now with the Warriors and our development systems, we're actually, pinching a lot of Australian boys coming over. We're becoming a destination spot to develop players. Teams are definitely going to be looking back over at us like they were back in the day with the under 20 squads and stuff like that, of really pinching a couple of our boys as well. So as long as we keep the ones that are the highest of potential and they become the better sort of player in that, I think that's the biggest tick out of it here. But still, yeah, obviously from, Warriors fans alike, hopefully Zion goes out there and kills it and, becomes all the player he wants to be too, because sometimes,
and then comes back.
And then comes back, 100% right. We definitely got room for him. Become like Aaron Clark, brother. Hey, just come back home after. But yeah, very, very sad news, guys. Make sure you chuck in the chat your thoughts overall. There's a lot of rumors obviously floating around about the whole situation. There's rumors about, obviously, I've seen on X whether we could go into looking at a Manly prop forward. I've seen rumors on that. A lot of rumors of maybe Sipley. I've seen people throw up Josh Alloway. I'm not too keen on Josh Alloway, but Sipley, if he was to come back to the Warriors, I don't know, big body forward. We've had him here before. I still look at our depth that we have in the junior base. I still think that we should be building within and just bringing those boys up and fill in the pieces where we need to. But how would you feel about one of those sort of boys from Manly? Is there anyone from Manly in their prop sort of room that you're looking at going, maybe we can pinch one of those boys back? Or
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is the next couple of years we'll need a crutch, right? We'll need someone to prop us up while these younger middle forwards are coming through, right? Like your Toby Crosby as well.
Exactly.
That young. And so if we bring in one of these guys, I think it will only be a 2-3 year kind of deal. I don't think we can hang on one of them to be a prop for us for a long time, unless an Ale or an R4 goes. Because again, I don't like putting Ale and R4 into the same category, but they're kind of at that just under what we need in terms of the frontline middles. And so to bring one of those two boys over again, like you said, I'd prefer Sipley over. Is it O'Shea Ole or something like that? Peter
for
V'landys.
sure, bro. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I'd much prefer to have Sipley than Aloye. But Jazz could come back.
Bro, Jazz, revoke that passport, brother, and bring it all the way back home. Would love to have Jazzy back, but
when I heard New Zealand middle at the Sea Eagles, the first thing in my mind was Jazz, even though he's Samoan. But
it's like, who knows, bro? Like, honestly, the NRL moves so quickly. Even players under contract. There's a lot of players that are under contract that are moving so quickly. Francis Molo, that whole situation with the Dragons just pops out of nowhere. Obviously, Zion Ma'u still had another year left under his contract, 2026. Up to 2026 before he left with us. Like, the NRL moves in so many different ways. Contracts are worth a weight of paper these days. Like, they're really, anything can really happen. It may be someone amazing, maybe a junior rank. And, we'll talk about a couple of the juniors in a later one. We'll talk about our juniors, but I've got a couple of names in that Manly Seagulls junior base that I really, really enjoyed. Like, they had a couple of prop forwards there that look like they're probably going to try and lock those boys up fairly early on, but they've got some potential there as well. So who knows? Maybe it's a younger prop forward out of that development system that looks the goods.
And that's the thing. If we bring someone over that can be good in X amount of years, is that like, are we looking to develop more now? And we've kind of got our middle rotation set with Ale and Afo kind of rounding out the bottom of that. Vaimaunga in there as well. Are we having kind of replacing underneath that and bringing in those guys we can develop into the upper echelon of props?
Yeah, and that's it, mate. Like, we're definitely in that stage at the moment with the Warriors where we are caught in right now where we're switching phases, right? We're becoming, we're pushing for more future. I do believe, clubs definitely talked about that now. Obviously, Sean Johnson, Tohu Harris, there's a lot of experience that has left us out the door. We've still got a ton of experience in the squad as well. As you did say, Tom Ale and Bunty Afolas, they're still sitting there as gatekeepers at the moment. I think Tom Ale's still got a little bit more to his game at the moment, that we haven't seen yet, but I just still want to see it. He seems like a guy that, he has moments where you're like, okay, I can see it, and it regresses a little bit. Where Bunty's just that consistent guy that always just plugs along there. So he could definitely be one of those gatekeepers, or a guy that can help usher in some of the younger boys as well with the experience and cup or whatever we try to play in with there. But we could definitely go down the route of pinching some more juniors that we're going to develop in the future, and that, even though we're doing that fairly well for our own ranks. Or we could go an established person like Sipley just to fill out our top 30, because we do need to do that before I'm pretty sure we get into our season anyway, which we're now down to top 27 or 28 from memory.
27, yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely need to fill in a couple other spots. There's some names definitely coming to push into those spots just now, but I really don't know the way the Warriors are going to go with this, because I didn't expect Zion to move on so quickly. It's definitely something that's taken me by storm.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see with the gravity that James Fisher-Harris has with bringing people over.
Yeah.
Because, who wouldn't want to learn under a world-class prop, right?
Exactly.
Even Barnett being there as well, Tohu still being in and around the club. We've got a wealth of knowledge for these younger kids coming through. And so that's why I think, when we talk about, Crosby coming through, or, some of the, Tanner Stowers-Smith, these boys that are, they're younger and trying to push into that, into the first grade. It's gonna be amazing for them learning from these guys, and having even Marata, Kurt Capewell, all of these established forwards that are just going to bring these guys through for our future. And I think as much as we're panicking about Zion leaving and about this hole being created with Tohu gone as well, it's going to get to the point where in 2 years we're gonna go, man, we were worrying about nothing,
Yeah, and I think the club is actually handling this fairly well. I think the Tohu news, whether we believe in it, I do think that the club had an inkling what was going to happen there. Obviously, Tohu looked like he came back off the surgery fairly well until a couple of preseason moments there where he had to go see the doctor, and that's where it all shaped down. But we've been watching Tohu for the last how many years now, to where he's bandaged up to the 9. It did look like he was going to come to his end sometime soon. But then again, the tractor that he is, you never know, really. It just would have popped out of nowhere. He could have played for another 5 years. Who would have known? But I do think the club had an inkling that was going to happen. Same with Shawnee. As I said, we'll talk about it. Obviously, Luke Metcalf getting a 7 jersey in the team list, but we've been flirting with Luke Metcalf in a 7 jersey in the last couple of preseason trials. He played the first preseason trial last year in the Tigers jersey, with the Tigers in that 7 jersey. The year before that, the Tigers game, he played in the 7 jersey. it does feel like the club kind of had a little bit of idea of what was going to happen. So they're just like filtering these boys in slowly. It's the way I prefer it to do as well. Like, you know, I know a lot of people obviously wanted to see more minutes out of Zion and all that before he left, but unfortunately you can't just chuck young boys out there, you know, and like, you know, have them fall apart or whatever over a long period of season. You got to kind of ease them into the game, get them used to it. They got to go back to cup, learn what they got to learn and get better from that. And unfortunately, like with the Zion whole thing, I do feel like he did leave it a little bit when he came back to cup. I didn't see the full progression just yet there out of them. So I felt like that maybe left him out of that pecking order a little bit. You know, Tanner Smith's a similar one to that, where I still want to see a little bit more out of Tanner because I've got a massive rap over Tanner when I saw him coming up through the grade, but he just hasn't clicked on further on from that. Comparatively to Vaimongas or the Leka Alasimas, where when they're going back to cup, or even Laban, when he went back to cup, he kind of stepped it back up to a level again. So I think those are definitely there's a lot of different moving parts to this whole situation. That's what the club's got to think about too. There's a lot to think about as a club, and that's really what's going on here with Zion, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone's played Football Manager, if anyone's played any management games and that, you just understand how much pressure it is to try and, you know, sign players, move players, keep players, certain players. It's a tough time, right? I did that all of the off-season, guys. I was playing Football Manager and all that. Blew my mind. Like, you know, I'd hate to be Webby right now, but, you know, I love having him at the club, and I think that at the moment we're going okay. If we lose some other boys like a Lek Alasim or a Dimitri Vaimongas, then I think a red alarm should start going, right?
Yes, absolutely.
100%. All right, enough with the sour news. We're going to move it over to the team list Tuesday. So I was unable to bring it up on our screen here, guys, but we're going to run through the 1 to 29. It's a massive little team list here, and also a lot of big names. As we did predict, this is going to be majority our first team by the looks of it. Me and Josh will definitely be talking about that. But it does look like we're going to play this first week with a lot of our first teamers. Rest them a little bit. You know, some may play the multi game, and then we're going to go to Vegas after that. So we may not see any of these big guys in the second trial. So this is definitely one of our big trials here. So in that fullback position, Charles Nickel-Klokstad, the two wingers that we have, Dallin Martinez-Zelezniak and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. In the centers, we got Ali Leotor and Adam Pompey. Really excited to see those that backline pairing in general. Rocco Berry from Rumour apparently is still carrying niggling injuries as well. That's what I've heard, just little rumours in the background. So unfortunate not to see him there, but maybe we get to see him in the next trial, or maybe, I'm not too sure, but he'll be a little bit of a longer extended there. Obviously nerve damage does, you know, cause a little bit of time for issue. We saw with Flegler's situation. Hopefully it's not that, right? We're hoping not that.
No, that'd be rough for Rocco. I mean, he's got so much potential, and so I just want to see him healthy, man.
Yeah, and what better, you know, replacement than Adam Pompey if he was the guy to replace him there. Obviously, a very consistent centre. He stepped up his game since the early years that we seen Adam Pompey. Last year, I thought he was a really consistent player for us. Good goal kicker there too, so could help out Luke Metcalf if he does have any problems there as well. So. All right, moving on, guys. In the halves, we got Tamati Martin and Luke Metcalf. Luke Metcalf will be holding on to that 7 jersey, or moving into that 7 jersey. So that's a really curious watch for all Warriors fans out there. Moving over to our front row forwards, we got James Fisher-Harris, Mitch Barnett. In number 9, Wade Egan. Number 11, we got Jacob Laban paired up on the other edge with Kurt Capewell. In that 13 jersey, a lot of questions around that 13 jersey. Aaron Clark looks like he has got that 13 jersey for this trial here. Wait and see for teamless, obviously in round 1, whether he definitely has that. But at the moment, that 13 jersey is Aaron Clark. Moving on to the interchange, guys. The interchange could be a whole lot of different names everywhere. It doesn't really mean that this is going to be the interchange to start the year, right? Like, I think a lot of people do agree with that. But Dimitri Vaimonga, Murata Niokore, Moala, Graham Tolfa, and Sio Gali with the 17. And then the rest of the reserves, because we got unlimited interchanges here with the trials. We got Ed Gossi, Luke Hanson, Jet Cleary, Tain Chuapiki, Dion. Oh, I'm going to butcher this name, bro. I was doing it. Show us your name. Go. Show it up. Let's go.
Amituanoi.
There we go. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm usually a lot better when I hear it first, so I'll get better at that for sure. Bunsey R4, Eddie Iramira Torava, We got Samuel Healy, Dylan Walker, Tanner Stowell-Smith, and Freddie Lussick finishing out the side. Most likely what we're going to see here is the first half. We're going to see this full first team list here. And second half, we're going to see probably a halves pairing of Jet Cleary and Hansen switch over, which is going to be a really exciting look to see there as well. With probably Tane Tuivasa-Sheck getting in that fullback jersey and most likely going to be running with that cup side. So that's going to be a really interesting little watch as well. Your first thoughts when you saw this team list, brother? Any big names that you're worried about that have been left out? Any big queries you want to touch on first of all?
Well, so the 5 that I did notice that weren't there, or sorry, 6. So no Rocco, obviously, like we talked about. No Jackson Ford as well. I think he's in the chat here, so maybe he can give us some insight.
Let us know.
No CHT, no Liquor, no Tom Ale, and no Tanner Boyd. So it was interesting to see those names being left off. Like I know with trials, especially with the first trial, normally we, normally teams will bring the lot, like the ones that are in cup, bring them up, pair them with some of the first graders, some of the ones that we need to see, get those combos going. It's interesting to see that like our spine is almost set, right? Like our 1, 6, 7, 9, and 13. I think that's going to be what we're running out with at Vegas.
Yeah.
Which saddens me because I love Tane Tuivasa-Sheck.
Definitely a lot of discussion there with Tane Tuivasa coming into the season, right?
But again, like Chance is so experienced. He's gonna be a leader at the back, and that's what we need, I think, in Vegas with such a massive stage, so huge. And it's interesting. Like I think our forward pack is pretty settled. I love the inclusion of Jacob Laban. I think he'll really break out this year. And then having Dimitrik Marata on the bench is really interesting. That's something that I've wanted to see again. Have him as that middle edge combo. But it's interesting to see us go without Chanel. That says to me that they want him as a half, and they want him being a half rather than maybe playing that utility role. So I think we'll see him at 18 a lot this year. And which also saddens me because I'm Chanel's biggest fan. If you watched last week,
shout out Chanel, bro. You bring up really good thoughts around Chanel. Like when a lot of the halves combinations were talked about, I do think Chanel probably was put to the wayside by a lot of people as well. For me, I was looking at Tamani Martin, Luke Metcalf, and going through the list of stuff, and I think Chanel just does so well at what he does. Sometimes he just flies under the radar. Also, I think a lot of people do hold him against what happened last year with his goal kicking and didn't look at the rest of his performances that he had there. Obviously, he had a couple of, not so good moments, but he had a lot of great moments as well defensively and all that. But we'll talk about our first couple of few, right? So the big one, obviously, we just spoke about Rocco Berry with an niggly injury. The other two, from what I've seen, I'm pretty sure the Warriors put it up on their page as well when they brought up the team list. I think, Shannara Stavita and Tanner Boyd have been rested due to niggles as well. Whether that's like, they're just trying to push them wait till next week and have them as a pairing. I think that will probably end up more than likely being the pairing in New South Wales Cup this year by the looks of it, for at least the start of the season, depending on how Luke Metcalf and Tomaide go out to start the season. That pairing in general, you obviously prefer the Luke Metcalf and Shannara Stavita pairing. I know you do. Now seeing Tomaide Martin, Luke Metcalf, and then having Tanner Boyd and Shannara Stavita in Cup, how are you feeling about that overall? Are you still just holding on to, or you want Chanel in that 6 jersey, or are you just waiting to see at the moment to see how this connection goes first?
Look, I mean, so 2023, like we had one of our best seasons of all time. And for majority of that year, when Luke was out, Tomaide was in that 6, and it worked. Last year, when Luke was out and Tomaide was in the 6 with Johnson, it didn't work too well. But I think that's because we put so much into Sean and Luke, that he was kind of like when Tomaide was with Sean, it felt very foreign to both of them. When Tamaiti was with Chanel, it felt great. And they felt, at home with each other. They rocked it in Cup. Every time they were playing Cup, they would smoke teams,
Yeah.
And then when they came up, I remember that Broncos game at home last year, that both of them just absolutely were on a tear. And
Lit it up.
I think the focus that we've had with Luke and Tamaiti this off season will show on the field. And if we've chosen them early and gone with them early, I think Tamaiti can be at his best like he was last year, and he can be that first option with Luke being a sweep, because I think the way Tamaiti will play the best is being that the first on the ball. And I know Luke has the 7, but it reminds me a little bit of almost the James Maloney, Sean Johnson. Like, yes, Sean Johnson did all the kicking, and he was bouncing around, ball was in his hands most of the time, but he was still that running threat. And Jimmy was first on the ball, give it to Sean, give it the other way, and he was kind of controlling, I guess, that team, and managing that team. And I think that's maybe how they might look to play this year. I am
so similar to years past too, but I want to point out, because that's a really good point. Sean Johnson had that with James Maloney, had that with Chad Townsend, he had that with Blake Green. We've done that multiple different times with Shawnee. Shawnee's always played better. I remember there was a year there, I'm pretty sure we had with, I think it was with Chad Townsend, where we actually put the 6, number on Shawnee's back. And I've always been a guy that's like, I don't care if the 6 or 7 is there. It's just how they play football. But for some reason, Shawnee just didn't find himself when he had a 6 on his back. But with a 7 on his back, he became Sean Johnson. So I think we just played with Chad Townsend playing that hook, that halfback role. And then Shawnee being that guy that connects on the edge on both sides. That's a great point to bring up. And I think you're 100% right. I think the balance between these two is going to be really interesting. We spoke about this in the backstage, watching their preseason trial, and the one that they had against the Tigers in 2023. If guys go watch that, Luke Metcalf had the kicking boot in that game there, but him and Tamaiti, some of the passing they were putting together in that game, their footy IQ, their balance, they were both sweeping on both sides. They connected so well. That's the thing I'm really excited of, and I think they yin and yang themselves a little bit better. They become more balanced for me, and it becomes an attacking threat on both sides more so than maybe just having Luke Metcalf be the sole attacking option all the time, and having someone out there that's probably going to be the more of the kicking option. That's my only thought there, but yeah, that's where my head was at.
Yeah, and again, I do feel a little bit for Chanel. I think there's a real big case for him, especially with that left foot kicking option. I think him and Luke would work really well together. And I think that's something we've been missing for a little while, is that left foot on the left edge. And I mean, look, it'll work. I think it was one of these two combos. I didn't think Tanner Boyd was going to be in the team if Luke Metcalf was going to be in the team. And so, to me, it was TMM and Metcalf, or CHT and Metcalf, and it was dreams versus reality on that one. And I think this will be a solid pairing. I think that we'll get to the point where either someone is going too well to be denied in Cup, or these two are just too good and we're looking too good this season. And I think that's we'll get one or two ways by about round 8-9, and then we'll be able to go from there.
Yeah, and from a coaching point of view too, I do feel more comfortable. My query over this whole halves debacle and that is, I did worry a little bit of the Newcastle Knights sort of look, right, where Adam O'Brien just never settled on a halfback, and he was just switching up and all that. Where I think Webby, to a lot of Warriors fans, they get pretty frustrated at him at times, that he does like to stay solid with combinations. But coming from Penrith and, obviously reading all the Ivan Cleary's books and just learning about, obviously growing up playing footy, and I'm sure you play footy growing up, and that there's nothing worse than having a different person inside you, outside you, and trying to relearn a combination all the time. instead of just like having two people out there. Maybe they won't play the most amazing football to start with, but their connection will grow, their balance will grow, and that's what actually plays a lot better than two people that you just kind of chuck in there. Maybe one game they'll shoot for the stars, but the rest of the season they won't ever recover that as well. So I think with Webby there, I think he'll give him enough time to try to figure out that balance there, give him enough of a shot. But if it comes to, as you said, maybe that round 10, 11, if it's just not working, if something's not happening and Tanner Boyd or Shania Harris-Tavita is killing it in New South Wales Cup, or Luke Hanson, or, you know, if I don't want to say Jet Cleary because people will be like, get Jet Cleary in straight away. But, you know, obviously if he goes really well, you know, that these could push these guys into those opportunities. So, but I'm feeling good with Webby having him there. I know he's going to give him enough time to like flourish in these roles there, but, yeah, it's going to be a big watch for a lot of Warriors fans, obviously. I'm excited the way it could go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I fully agree with that.
All right, the next big talking point, obviously, RTS as a winger. This was one of the biggest, hottest talking points for the New Zealand Warriors coming to the season. I've seen so many people give their opinions on it. I still see a lot of people giving their opinions on it in the comment section. A lot of people want RTS at fullback. A lot of people want, obviously, Tane Tuipiki at fullback. Chance gets the fullback jersey right now. But the position for RTS, where everyone was wondering where RTS is going to play this year, it is going to be in that wing. He's going to fill in that Marcelo Montoya role. Your thoughts on that position there for Roger? Does this suit him more so to you in this side? Where's your thoughts at with Roger?
Yeah, look, I love Roger at fullback. I think he's awesome, mate. You know, every time he's at fullback and he's lined up for us, whether it was 2018, like, you know, from then on, or it was, you know, last year in a couple of games. I think it was it the Tigers game at home, something like that, where he lined up at fullback.
Yep.
He's amazing, and he's, you know, he opens up so much space, and he can do anything, and that's what we love about Roger. However, at 32/33, like around that age, how long can his body hold on at fullback? If we want to have Rog for, you know, 3 years, and, you know, use him and give him, you know, like get everything we can out of him, we can't have him at fullback for a full season. It's just it's not something we can do. He can be a backup fullback. He can be the in-game, chance goes down. Cool, we've got Rog. We can just chuck him at the back.
Exactly.
Yeah, on the wing, he'll still be able to do those freakish things. I was talking with Levon last week as well about the way we can use him from the wing, and he can come inside a little bit like Tom Trbojevic when he cooked us in State of Origin, you know, coming in and just doing what he does, you know. Like Roger, he's going to be a great winger, and we couldn't use him at centre. He just wasn't getting the ball he needed, but having him at the back will just provide us so many options. And if they kick to Dallin, if they kick away from Roger, Dallin runs that ball harder than I've ever seen anyone run a ball.
I know, bro. He's Carmichael Hunt reincarnated, right? We're running it back. It's crazy.
Honestly. And so he will punch the line. Then Chance will punch the line. And then you get Roger on a tired defense after two freight trains are running at this defense. And then he can just, you know, work his magic, step in. That's exactly what we need. And if they kick to Rog, broken chase, he's gone. You know, that's what he can do. And that's, you know, we see this so often from Roger. He's a game breaker, and we can't have him. We can't have him for a full year at fullback because he will break down.
Yeah, and I totally agree.
So having him from the wing will just be awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Like when I see the team list, the way it runs out here, every time I've done my predicted team list, when I look at the back line of, you know, Chance Nickel-Klokstad, who last year was a top 3 fullback for run meterage per average on game. Like people forgot about that, even though he had a so-and-so poor season due to his injuries and stuff like that. He was unable to get going last year the way he was in 2023. So we got 200 meters out of the back there by itself. There was Chance. We all know Chance can get up to that 300 meter range. Now we move over to Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, averages about 150 to 170 meters per game. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak on that wing. And Ruds, as you said, they want to kick it to that side. That brother is suicide diving into that line. He doesn't care. So you're damaging with that. Or you go to the other side and you got a guy that has been known in the NRL to lead the run meterage rate. Obviously, you can get up to that 300-meter range. So that backline in general, a lot of people are worried about the meters gained that we lose with someone like Adam Fanor-Blake leaving the club. Obviously, he's post-meterage and stuff like that. When we have someone like Roger, Chance, and Dallin out back, they can do so much work into getting us into range, which is the way we play our football at the moment. That's the way the Warriors have played our football. It helps rest people like, James Fisher-Harris, Mitch Barnett in the middle to do a lot more defensive work, right? And really hold teams down the opposite end. And I think, Marcelo was incredible for that. I thought, last couple of years, he can get up to that 170 range, usually on an average per game. But you're putting in Roger Tuivasa-Sheck into that position now that can get up to that 300 range. He has the game-breaking ability in him that a lot of people did worry about sometimes for Marcelo Montoya. If we put him in that fullback jersey, my only argument to everyone else is, who are you going to put back in that wing jersey in general? Like, I see him predicted teamless with Ali Leotoa playing out of position in that wing jersey. I've seen him do it before. I don't like it. I like him as a center. You got Ed Gossi probably coming back into the side then, I guess. If you're going to put Chance into the center, then you're leaving out one of our gun centers that we've been hoping and watching and seeing for now. And then a lot of people do forget that is like when we have Roger at fullback, the next best fullback we're going to have is Chance. And then after that is Tane Tuapiki. Where right now, the way I look at it, if Chance goes down before a game, I think Roger's going to stay in that wing. Tane's going to be that next fullback. I think that's probably the best way to look at it, is like future-proofing us to where like now Roger's a winger. He understands his position. He's done that before for people like Reece Walsh that we see in the years past, and he did a great job for that. I think he can do a great job there as well. And I think just building a good team is better than trying to put the best players. You know what I mean? Like, it's just got to build a good team. And I think that's the way we've kind of looked at it this year. And I'm really, really excited to see Roger on the wing. Any more thoughts on Roger there?
No, I think I saw T Mackey comment that like a winger's a fullback anyway. So that's exactly right. Like a winger just acts like a fullback. And to me, when you talk about like, the forwards needing that rest to do the defense, I mean, what's a better mold for that than Penrith, right? Exactly. And they had Brian To'o, they have Dylan Edwards, hard worker, and they had Taruva on that side. Now they'll probably run out McLean, who, we saw him for the Kiwis, runs hard, does everything that you need to do, And so if we can bring some of that magic over, maybe Jet brought it over on the plane, something like that, maybe Dayon as well. If they all brought it back over on the plane so that we can have that as a back three, I think that's going to set us up really, really well for the season, and we're going to get on top of teams like we were last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people do forget that was the best part of our game last year, is we weren't a side that were getting held behind that 50-meter. We're usually finding ourselves into opposition field position and getting into the opposition 20. And that's where we played a lot of our football. Our two biggest issues last year was actually scoring points and defending points, right? Like, it was when a team got down into our end, they cracked us well too easy. When we got down the other end, there was moments where we're doing it easy. There was moments where it did look like it was just really frustrating for a lot of people to watch, just go side to side and not be able to find points there. And I think, we still are going to do that point really, really well with obviously Roger, Chance, and Dallin getting us into really good field position for our halves to take over. It takes away from having a big kicking game, obviously, with Roger and all that playing out back. Luke Metcalf doesn't need to have a 70-meter boot in the back of his back pocket with Roger, Dallin, Chance out back. It just helps us in so many different ways. Where when I look at all our other winger depth that we have there, they don't produce as much as what Roger can do in that position for me, anyway.
No, absolutely, you're right.
Sweet, brother. And another big news, obviously, overall. Jacob Laban getting the Edge jersey. And then, obviously, we know Leka Lasima in the team list here. I'm not too sure what's going on with Leka. I've been trying to hunt for any news, whether he's injured in that. I'm guessing niggling injuries. I'm not too sure. I do see there's a troll. Hopefully it's a troll in a whole lot of comment sections at the moment saying he's signed for Manly. That better be a troll.
No
that
way.
Better be a troll. That better
no
be a troll.
Way.
I don't think it's true. I really don't think it's true. I haven't heard anything about that. But Jacob Laban getting the Edge jersey. Do you think this is Webby giving us a little bit of a wink to say maybe we're going to bring a bit more youth now and maybe him start on the Edge? Or do you think Jackson Ford, when he comes back from a little bit of a niggling injury himself, he's going to steal that role back off Jacob Laban?
It's funny. I don't think having Jacob Laban there is the telltale sign of that. I think it's Murata on the bench.
I like that.
Seeing Murata on the bench just says to me we're going to do what we tried to do with him last year. I mean, we looked at that I think it was the Dolphins home game, the preseason game, where, we used Murata off the bench, and it was like this massive, like, oh my gosh, here he comes. And he just, did exactly what we needed of him. And then unfortunately he got injured and was out for the first 10 weeks, and then couldn't really get back in the way that we needed him to. But I think, again, starting this season with Niukore on the bench will show that there's that second row jersey up for grabs. And whether it's Jacob Laban, Jackson Ford, my pick, Leka Halasima, whether it's one of those three, I think Webby is pointing to the future. And so to me, it's between Laban and Halasima. And if Laban gets it to start the year, like say Halasima's injured, he'll go well. He's grown up so much in the last year from like when he debuted, and then going back to Cup and just working hard and doing exactly what he needed to do. Like he was the first one out. I think he was the first one out of those boys to debut.
The first one out to do, yeah.
And so that's obviously a rap that is on him. And so there's no telling. Like they see something special in him, and there's something that Jacob will bring to this team, whether it's just a consistent edge, and just someone who will back up and will do every little bit and more, or if it's something that we haven't seen yet, that's underlying that he's seen in this preseason, that we've seen in this preseason, that goes, Jacob, he's going to start for me and he's going to do a job, and we're going to use it for the year.
It's a good little nod to that, like, get him in there early now around that first team squad. If it was to not be the case, Jackson Ford gets that spot there, maybe we'll start to see him a lot more minutes off the bench, obviously. That could open up opportunities there. And I think I resonate with you as well. I'd love to see Leka in that position. I'm really high on Leka, the way he runs his lines and all that. Jacob Laban's right there with him. Before we move on as well, too, I think, obviously, out of the group of boys, I think Vai Moanga actually debuted first, just going for the top of my head. As if recall, a couple of years back, he debuted against the Roosters. But yeah, out of the other little crop of boys that we had, obviously this was I think Vai Moanga was around about there for a while, like the Zions, the Tennessee Smith and stuff. Yeah, Laban was the first one out of that little group there to debut last year. So definitely a ton of potential. When we saw him debut against the Titans, he had not against the Titans, sorry, but, in that Titans game, he had that one moment against Tanner Boyd where, obviously he got beat on the inside of dummy and go. He went back to Cup after around that period, and he definitely worked on his game. And towards the end of the year, he was like killing it in that edge back row, and he ended up winning our New South Wales Cup Player of the Year, right? So really, really talented. I'm sure a lot of people have him bookmarked, obviously, for the next coming years. A big body, moves really well. I'm excited to have him there. And you bring up an amazing point there with Niukore. Obviously, him coming back into that more of that middle forward role. Obviously, a lot of people talking about we're losing Adam Blake. We all know about that. We brought over James Fisher-Harris as a different type of player. He's going to play a good 50 minutes worth or 45 to 50 minutes worth of hard yucca, get out there, big line speed. And then we're going to bring Murata Niukore off the bench, and hopefully he's going to continue that. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a balanced, sort of rotational piece here with Fisher-Harris, Barnett, and maybe Vai Moanga and Niukore. That's going to be a really nice little interchange. Maybe Tom Ale could be there as well for the future. And I think that's a really good point to point out is, that's the way I looked at it as well. Niukore going to the bench, that's just saying at the moment, I think he's going to be brought as more of a middle forward this year than he is going to play on the edge. So that's a really good point to bring out, Josh. I appreciate your eye there. Any other, so obviously the 13 jersey, Aaron Clark getting the first little nod there. Your thoughts around that? Did you prefer having Dylan Walker to probably start the game and then Aaron Clark come in because he's a newcomer to the club? Or did you just appreciate, obviously Aaron's been here before, he understands the club a little bit. He's come back over. He's got the ability to start a game and play really well. He's played really good momentum type football. Do you like him in that 13 jersey to start the season?
I do like him there. I think obviously we're going to have Tohu there, and when Tohu goes, all hell breaks loose. And to me, it wasn't really a question between Dylan Walker and Aaron Clark. It was strictly just like Dylan Walker is our 14. He's our impact guy. He's the guy that comes onto the field at the 25, 30-minute mark, and he just does what we need him to do and does what he does best. Aaron Clark, to me, he, like, seeing him in the 13, at times last year for the Titans. So solid, just incredibly solid. Just gets through his work, just does what he needs to do, and the way that he the way that he shores up defense, like that's something I think he grew on last year and grew on year at the Titans. And it's, at the start you kind of think, when he first kind of broke into the scene for the Titans, it was like, oh yeah, here's this kid, he's from New Zealand, he's from us. Hope he goes well. Oh, okay, like he was all right. Next year it's like, oh, he's better, and now he's home, Yeah. And so I'm expecting him to, especially, knowing that he's with Fish and Barnett, he's not going to want to be the third best out of them, And that's a tall order as well to go up against Barnett and Fish and be like, well, I'm gonna be better. I want to be better than them. I want to be this guy that I want to be the 13 of the Warriors for years to come. So I think it would be real smart to keep Dylan at 14.
I agree.
And yeah, that's not been a question for me.
Yeah, and we saw, like, obviously Dylan Walker, grow into that role. When we signed him over, I'm sure a lot of people, when we first signed him, there was a lot of questions marks. He had a good year with Manly, and then when he came over, we're like, oh, is he maybe too long in the tooth? But he thrived in the role of coming off the bench and changing the look of the game, the momentum. Obviously, we all remember the Ball brothers of him and Jazzy working together off the bench. I absolutely love that, and how we changed the game when those guys came on. Like the Cowboys game that we had that year, where they just connected so well in the middle. That's his best sort of look for me. I thought he played really well in that period when Kahu went down, and he had to carry that starting jersey for that period there. But I do believe that with his age, it's probably going to be more of a hindrance to him later on. Obviously playing in the middle for decent minutes there. I think a really consistent rotation of Aaron Clark and Dylan Walker just keeps that front foot type of footy that I think we will be playing this year. It's going to be very quick, the very front foot. And I think that we continue the roll on bringing Dylan Walker off the bench. And also if you want to look at it another way too, Dylan Walker playing most likely in the 14, maybe, see how we look. But if anyone goes down on that field, we can bring on Dylan Walker and he can move to that position, and we can keep Aaron Clark there in the middle of the park, right? Where Aaron Clark, he can play 7, can play hooker. But if a center goes down, obviously Dylan Walker can cover multiple different positions. So I like him coming off the bench to shore up those edges instead of being mid-game, just pushing someone out in that position.
I see in the chat from This Is Your Story about Tavita. I'm assuming that's Tavita Harris, which is, so Chanel Harris Tavita.
Yep.
I, again, like we spoke about, I think earlier before the show, I have not seen Harris Tavita as anything other than a half. And I think it's a disservice to him to try and play him in these other roles, unless we desperately need it, And so to have Harris Tavita, talked about in that role, I think is, it's taking away from what he does best. And yes, he's ball playing. He can shore up the middle of the field with our playmaking. But I would rather have a bigger body. Obviously, he can tackle. We know he can tackle. But I'd rather have a bigger body in there, like an Aaron Clark, like even Dimitrik in a year or so. Have Vaimonga in there, but keep Chanel out of that conversation. And if it's needed, if it's if we're down to 2 players on the bench and it's Freddie Lussick versus Chanel Harris Tavita, I don't want Freddie Lussick in the middle unless it's at 9. I don't want him defending in the middle. Not at prop, not at lock. No.
I agree with you in a way, bro. I see the look of maybe him as a 14 to cover multiple different, but I agree as in the fact of it is a disservice to him that he wants to be a halfback. He had come up for the grade just knowing being a 6 and 7 through grade. And I think a lot of that it comes down to, obviously, he's a football player first. I think that's the best thing you can say about Shinaris Tavita. He's very much like a Jack Whiten type of player where he's something out of nothing. If you wanted something to create something, he's going to do that. And I've looked at him at 13 and gone, maybe. But the Titans game last year when we were 66-6, where we brought him off the bench and he played in that middle, and it just obviously we played with a bit more of a smaller forward pack there. I think Dylan Walker was defending on the edge, and it just, There was a lot of like movement through the middle. He's a big body, but he's still like got to contend with some really decent size prop forwards that are going to be running at him consistently. Where on an edge, we can pull off those big shots and he can have that movement. I think defensively, he's better suited on an edge than a middle. From what I saw in that game, maybe that's a little bit of a sore point of like maybe a preseason, him training at 13, he could be a lot better there. But I agree with you. I think it's a disservice to him, and him going back to Cup and being a reserve half or a reserve six that can push maybe into a starting six role. I think that probably suits him a lot better, where he can really hone in on his craft and focus what he does really, really well. And then more so try to makeshift certain players and put them in different positions. I never liked the look of that. I never really think it works really well. There's only certain clubs that can make it work really well, and they're the exception. I don't like making, like, I've heard, like, obviously Ed Gossie as an edge back row. I've heard all these shouts. I've heard RTS at 13. I've heard a lot of different things. I don't like those sort of things. I reckon if they've come up playing that position, they want to play that position, get them in there. And if they're not good enough there, then obviously they go down in the pecking order there. So that's just my thoughts on that. But it's great that you brought that up. Before we move on from a lot of this, talking more of the second unit guys that are going to be coming in, a lot of guys I'm really excited to see. Sio Gali, he's come through the grade. He's got a ton of potential. He's got a ton of raps over him. A lot of the outside backs that we had coming through the grade. This was actually one of the guys that I think was most touted by coaching staff from what I've heard in the background. So really, really talented outside back. He had a really great highlight last year from memory before he did his knee, right? I'm pretty sure he did his knee. But it was against I think it was the Newcastle Knights. Last minute, him and I can't remember who was on the wing, but they had that last minute jump for the ball, bang through, try scoring opportunity, winning the game. He has that in him. He's a strike weapon on the wing or center. He can play multiple different positions. Are you excited? Have you seen a lot of Sio Gali? Are you very excited to see what he's got to bring in this trial game here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we've got to note about him as well is he's 19. He turned 19 in May last year. So he played Fleg and Cup. He kind of bounced in between when he wasn't injured last year. And he made 8 appearances in Cup. Like that's how fresh he is to kind of high open grade footy. And he, like you said, he had such special moments, and he's such a electric player. And I think I think he's not there yet. He's someone that, again, when we think about how we were 3-4 years ago, when no one's coming through, and we're like, man, we have all these old players on the wing, people who can't run anymore, like slowing down. And now we're bringing through, Sio Gali, Pasikala, these guys who are exciting and are going to be, this incredible presence in this Warriors side for years to come.
Agreed.
It has changed from, we're old and we're slow, to these exciting things coming through, but they're not quite there yet. And I think that's something I'm excited to see this weekend. I'm so excited to see Sio play. And I think he's gonna rock it.
Yeah, he's got all the ability in the world, and I completely agree. We're definitely moving past that older stage where we were before to, like, we had a lot of big outside back wingers that were older. Like, I completely agree. They didn't have the game breaking ability, the game breaking speed, but we're starting to find these guys now, and we'll talk about more of them later on too with the SG Ball and the Harold Matts. There's a couple of younger kids in that have got lightning speed and the ability to do so as well. Other big ones to talk about too, Luke Hanson, Jet Cleary. As I said before, more than likely after halftime, these guys are probably going to come on for Tamati Martin and Luke Metcalf. Definitely a major watch for any Warriors fan out there. Obviously, Jet Cleary. Like, do we need to say more? I think everyone already knows. Obviously, the Cleary name holds so much weight so that they want to chuck this kid in there early. He's going to be our savior. I think we just need to relax on him just yet and let him develop. But we get to see the early days maybe of maybe could be something special. Who knows? In this trial game, you excited to see that combination there?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is we need to throw Hanson on a little bit earlier than Jet. I think we need to have Hanson have a little bit of a combo so he can build up a bit of confidence in the game before chucking that fresh Jet out there. I was surprised we named him. I was surprised we named Jet Cleary because he's not in the top 30. He's going to be our flag halfback, hopefully, moving into Cup at some point this year. But to see what he can do in a trial that has, it's a preseason challenge, so it means a little bit. But for a game that really kind of, he has no pressure, nothing at all, other than to just go out there and perform and do the Cleary name justice. I think that's an exciting prospect, and I think it's something that we're gonna be able to see exactly why we brought him over. And I think if we give him 25, 30 minutes at the end of that game to work his magic and do what he can do, I think that'll be the best for his development. I think any more than that, 25 is even probably pushing it. 25 is kind of the upper end of where I think he should be. But any more than that will be too much. But any less than kind of I'd say 15 is where I want to see a little bit of him. I want to see I want to have that nibble of who this kid is and why we brought him over.
And this is why we talk about that perfect balance, right? And this is what coaches have to deal with, and that is to find that little moments. You want to play Jet for enough for fans to get a little bit of a taste, so we can see what you're growing with here, what we've got. So certain fans can look at him and be like, maybe he is a couple of years he's going to be a little bit, or maybe a lot of fans are going to go ecstatic after the 20 minutes that he does play, or playing for too long, maybe something happens in the game, a lot of drop ball, maybe not connecting with his edge properly, defensively falling off tackles left, right, and center can hurt his confidence, and that puts him at a little bit of a deficit when, obviously coming to flag. You want him coming in with all the confidence in the world. I've played with the first team. I understand I'm better than the opposition I've got here in flag. I'm going to develop into that player. You don't want him going into flag already at a deficit of thinking of the history of him playing this trial match, getting ran over multiple times, and thinking, even if I get to first grade, am I at that level? You know what I mean? You want him to have that confidence and that little bit of time. So I totally agree there. Moving down the list a little bit more, you got obviously Eddie Iramia. Definitely a talented junior that we've had coming through as well. Edge back rower, can play center. He's a Mr. Fix-It a lot of times in New South Wales Cup. Excited to see a little bit more out of him. He's definitely been given a lot more of a role now with the Warriors. So really, really excited to see him. Yeah.
I remember watching quite a few Cup games and just being like, man, this guy is crazy. He's, and he just shores up wherever you need, whether it's center or second row. I think I even saw him listed at prop at one point, and I was like, bro, who is this guy? What is going on? what is happening?
Bro, he's a legit, bro. He's a Mr. Fix-It. Every time I've seen him play, I'm like, he's in a different position, but he always seems to make he always seems to stand out in those positions as well. I've seen multiple games at center where I've looked at him and gone, maybe he can be a center. I've seen him on the edge again. I was like, nah, he is an edge back row. And as you said, I've seen him play in the middle. I was like, fuck, he can get through the work in the middle as well. So he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. Obviously, he hasn't got all the hype of obviously the Labans and the Leka Halasimas and stuff like that. But he's definitely one of those guys that has been around us. He's grown with us in New South Wales Cup, has been a consistent burn. But I've never really seen him really drop to a 4 out of 10 sort of game. He's always been fairly consistent in Cup as well. So really good to see his opportunity there. Also, we get to see Samuel Healy in a Warriors jersey. Definitely really excited to see this one. His battle with Freddie Lussick's going to be a really interesting one. Obviously, Freddie is such a good trainer in the preseason, so he's going to put the best foot forward, obviously. But Samuel Healy, from all knowledge that I have watching him in Cup and that, and obviously a lot of Sharkies fans saying so disappointed to lose him. I'm really excited to see what he can develop into. He's got a lot of talent, big body for that hooker role, a really good running game, really deceptive as well. I can see him being that Wade Egan type of hooker, more so than a Freddie Lussick type of hooker that we have in the moment. Your thoughts there? Oh, good old internet, fella.
Yeah. Am I back? Am I back?
You are back. I think you're back, brother. Go with it. Go with it.
I mean, isn't it great that he's playing against the Sharks? That makes my heart so warm. No, I'm really, really excited for Sam Healy. He's someone who, I think will develop into someone that we can rely on at 9, whether Wade's out or we end up doing a rotation between him and Wade. I think he should definitely be our second choice this year, and he should end up fighting for that top spot and moving up in that way. Yeah, I'm really excited for Sam to get a crack, and like you said, he's gonna fight against Freddie this year for that second 9 spot, and I hope at least he's on the bench at some point this year, and to become a regular rotation with Wade, whether that's 7 weeks in when we want to give Wade a little bit of time, to let. I mean, he normally starts out as an 80-minute hooker, Wade does, and then, we kind of towards the end, get him off that 80 into 65, into 60. Yeah. And so what I'm hoping for is that Sam Healy gets that spot and gets to show that. Because, I mean, like Levon and I were talking about last week as well, he doesn't come over here unless there's a plan for him. And so to see what that plan is and to see, where he ends up is something I'm really excited for. I don't think we should be doing kind of what we did with Freddie last year and starting Sam at 9 and then bringing Wade off. I think Wade is good when he starts. And I think he's better when he starts. Sorry. He's always good. But I think, Wade is good when he starts, having a break and then, coming on to finish, and having Sam take that spot would be, something that I think is important for us to finish this year at least.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm sure a lot of Warriors fans are definitely excited. If you haven't heard the name already, make sure you keep an eye out for him. He's black book him. He's definitely got a lot of talent. As I did say, being 6'1" in that hooker role, it's decent size for a hooker. You don't usually see hookers of that size. Like, I remember when I was coming up, when I was playing hooker, and then I had my growth spurt and I got pushed away from playing hooker. I ended up getting pushed to the center and wing spots because, coaches, when you get to that size, but seeing players like him, I was like, fuck. Hopefully, I could have made somewhere playing hooker. I don't know, bro. But nah, he's a big talent, bro. Defensively, really, really sound. I think the best thing that I've seen out of him is his footy IQ to know when to run, when not to run, and his running game is really, really high potential. So I'm sure that he's going to be, a lot of Warriors fans are going to fall in love with him. Obviously, losing, Paulie Roach and stuff like that, a guy like this, I think is going to get a lot of love from Warriors fans as well. And then really to finish it out, but actually, you got something more?
Oh no, that was good.
And to finish it out, but is there any other people you want to talk about here? Obviously, Graham Tulfa gets a spot as well. Anything you want to point out as well with this team list? Any names you want to circle on this list?
Just the one that we were talking about before as well. Dion.
Yep.
Ami Tuanai. He's come over from Penrith. I think we were talking about he was in our system, you said.
Yep. Yeah, back in 2020, he was actually in our system and then went to the Penrith Panthers, played cup for them for the last, 3 to 4 years now, is it? Something like that. Been a very consistent plug there for them too.
Well, and so he almost brought up 50 appearances for them in cup. And we were also talking about this one game he had last year where he was on the right wing for them in cup and he scored an incredible hat trick, and he's just someone that gets involved, and he's someone that I'd love to see us move off of that, train and trial into cup, and even hopefully getting him up into that into that top 30 if we need to. I think it's kind of him and Pasikala will be fighting out. I think they should be ahead of Ed Corsi. But that's, again, just I think the mold of Ed Corsi isn't what we need on the wing anymore. It's what we used to have, Manu, going back to Fafafilia. Even Ken Mamalo as well, Fusitua, these guys that were big and on the wing, but not the fastest. And that's what Ed Corsi is. And he's great. He's serviceable. We can use him. But I think, Dion is someone that's going to come in and he's going to be he's fast. He's so fast, and he's tall. He's a rangy winger, and that's something that I think we're we're going to get to the point when Rodgers on the end of his career, and maybe even when Dallin's getting towards the end as well, we've got to have these young guys coming through, and to have, him and Pasikala coming through, Siokali as well, having these younger guys come through is going to be really, really big for us. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how he goes. Excited to see him in Warriors colors as well.
Yeah, he's definitely a big talent from what I've seen as well. As I said, I've catched him in a couple of New South Wales Cup games because I really like watching the Penrith Panthers New South Wales Cup and see who they have coming up for the race, because their development system is so solid. But he's been a big plug for their system for a long time now. As soon as Suni Taruva moved up to that first grade sort of role, he's been sort of a guy that's been floating around with, obviously, the Casey McLean's, Jordan McLean's, Jesse McLean, and him. But got a lot of potential. Actually touched on, he's a decent sized body. He moves really well. That's the first thing I really noticed. He's got great footwork. I'm sure that Warriors fans will look at him for as much of a period that he will be there, because I don't think Roger will play a big period in this game either. As we said before, I don't want to see Roger do a calf in this game or anything like that. Get these younger boys on. I want to see a little bit of that. I think guys are gonna look at him first of all and go, oh, okay, yeah, he's got a bit of size to him. He's not massive, but he's tall. He's got range, he's a real rangy type winger, but his footwork, I love his footwork, and can play on both sides too. The Panthers pushed him from the right. I've seen him play on the left. He's had hat-trick games. He's had games he's run for 200 to 300 meters too. So he's got a lot of potential. So definitely someone to keep your eye on. Great name to bring up. Any other names you want to talk about, my brother?
Not in the team list, but I see Tahi in the chat, and I think he's just come through. And I think we need to shout him out again, because that was crazy hearing that on levels. Thank you, Tahi. I mean, I'm not even, it's not even me,
Bro,
but
you are part of it. The whole thing is Wise Up TV, the community of Wise Up TV is a big thing. When we have a channel like this, it's all about the community. It's all about you, Josh. It's about Tahi. And when Tahi shouted us out, when it Wise Up TV, you just bring a whole new following over too, that are all going to be with you guys in the chat and all that. So Tahi, brother, you made me smile, mate. You made my day. Honestly, listening to Levels podcast at work and then hearing, Wise Up TV and my name, I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I rung up my best mate Brody, who, on my channel every Wednesday and now Thursday nights as well. And I rung him up. I was like, bro, we got shouted out on Levels podcast. Couldn't believe it. So Tahi, bro, honestly, you mean the world to us. You've done so well. Just like everyone else in the chat, you guys are all massive supporters, and you build channels like us to what it is. I've seen all consistent names that you guys like to, NRL Warriors fanatics to Warriorholic, a lot of Warriors channels. You guys support no matter what, and the Wise Up TV community, yeah, we're all in this together. That call out is for all of us in general, and we only grow with all you guys in general. So
I think he can choose any spot in the first graders, any position you can have, bro. That's I think Ash has got hooker, but anything other than that,
going back to the junior days, but I have to get the old highlights up there. Yeah, grand final winners, first season, baby. Let's go.
All
right, brother. Amazing. Thank you so much, Tahi. Thank you, Josh, as well, for jumping on the show again tonight. We're not ending it off for now. I just want to say thank you while Tahi's here and stuff like that. But yeah, make sure you smack the subscribe button, like button as well, guys, to support the channel. A massive thing. And thank you, Justin Horro, and obviously Willie Mason, for even shouting us out. As I said, it's such a big channel to do that for smaller channels and stuff, and to help that rise. They don't need to do that, and they did. So much appreciated. Before we jump off the team list as well, I thought I'd run through a couple of names, obviously, with the Sharkies team list. Before we, also, the one thing I did want to say is I had the ET Stand. Shout out to ET Stand. They're a Sharks podcast as well. They messaged me before the show, and they were like, is there any Warriors, young Warriors boys, that you want us to talk about, or whatever, what we're watching out for coming into this game? And I was almost going to add in, Sam Healy, a great player, cannot wait to see him go up against these Sharkies, as you said before. I was really waiting for that, but definitely a lot of names to watch out for on the Sharkies team list as well. A lot of your notable names that you all know: Sione Katoa, William Kennedy, Kale Ito, Hiroti. You got Samuel Stone Street. I butchered that name. So it's Samuel Stone Street. complete, ultra talented. He's pushing Ronaldo Mulatalo with that role. Obviously, Ronaldo has been a solid contributor on that wing edge, and I believe I love Ronaldo. He's probably going to keep that spot, but Samuel Stone Street is he's a beast there, bro. Like, I can't wait to see him. You seen a lot of Samuel in Cup?
Yeah, well, so when I was watching Sam Healy,
Yeah.
There's this massive guy on the wing. It's is that Ash? But no. So Sam Stone Street. It is a hard name to say. Ash, you're right.
Yeah.
He's everything I've seen, whether it's on X or in fan groups on Facebook or on Instagram, is all the Sharks fans are crying out for this bloke to be played. So I'd say he's definitely one to watch this weekend. I think it'll be interesting to see this season, because obviously there was those rumors of Mulitalo being shopped around, and the Broncos were not interested at one point. So it'll be interesting to see where Stone Street fits in. I think he'll be someone that the Sharks will really struggle to keep if he stays in Cup this year. And I think he'll be solidifying a spot in that team, I think, however they can use him.
He's a player with like a very special mix of size and speed. Like he moves so well for the big body that he is, and just like knows his way to the try line. So, Sharkies fans are definitely excited for him coming up through. Other notable names, we all know Daniel Atkinson. He's going to be definitely a thorn in our side in this game here too. Paired up with the Puru brothers here. Obviously, I think it's Hohepa that came over from the Raiders. I've watched him at the Raiders. I've really enjoyed him at the Raiders. He's more of a lock forward. He's very versatile as well. I've seen him play in a couple of different positions, but lock forward is probably his best position in general. The Sharkies, a ton of talent coming through the grade. Is there anyone you want to point out with the Sharkies team list that you're looking out for and going, ooh, watch it wait out? Or have we pretty much named off the big ones, obviously?
Yeah, I think those are the big ones. I'm always excited in trials to watch the second halves. And even just, anyone coming onto the field in that, like after the 55th, 60th minute, and just seeing all these young kids just go for it. It's so exciting, because you get your little black book out, and you're writing all these names, you're getting all these names down, and you go, oh man, like he'd be real good for us in the future, and we could use him here, or man, he's going to be one. And then in 2-3 years, when he's established first grade, and you're like, man, I remember that trial. I remember seeing him. Yeah. And so like I'm so excited to watch this any trial that's coming up, and watching those second half battles between the young guns. I think that's real cool.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to see what they've got comparatively to what we have coming up for the Greys. We've been very excited with our junior development already, coming off of COVID years where it got like blown to smithereens. Now getting back into it, really, really excited to see these guys go up against a really talented junior depth of like Newtown Jets and the Sharkies, coming together. Very, very talented juniors. All right. I think that's enough of the team list. Obviously, we're very, very excited for this first trial coming up. There's a lot of questions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of answers and even more questions coming in after this trial. So guys, can make sure you continue to, watch next week when you get the next trial as well, to see what the sort of sides we run out there with that next week. And also coming up to the Vegas time. It's definitely a really exciting time of footy, and we've all been waiting for it. We've all been itching for rugby league football coming up. But before we go, I want to touch on our junior development, Speller. So let's go through our junior developments. First of all, our Harrimat side obviously getting a good win. I know Levon touched on it a little bit last night, but 28-10 against Manly. The first half was a 6-6 draw in halftime there. A lot of errors, they're trying to find their way, Manly cracking us first. But the boys, they started to find a little bit of possession, and a big player that I'm really, really excited for that Levon touched on, Bishop Neal. A big body on that edge, bro. Moves really, really well. He was another number 12, the edge back rower. Got that really big, intimidating frame. Huge. But if you go watch that first try that he scored off the big goose, he's got that movement to him. The only thing with him, obviously, development-wise, is Levon hit the nail on the head. Like, line running is probably still not his forte just yet, and you don't really want to rely on all that power and size, especially coming up for the grade when you play New South Wales Cup. Even sometimes when you play the Flegg boys and that, where you're coming up against the boys that are the bigger, more touted, you need to find a little bit of something extra, and usually that's your line running, that's your technique. But he's got footwork, he's got size, he's got speed. Did you get to see a little bit of Bishop Neal out there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the try what he did, right? It's crazy. I mean, LeBron, I think last night touched on a couple of comps with, you know, NRL players currently, and I'd love to see, like you said, the hard line, you know, be worked into his game. I think, and Harold Matts is quite hard because it is still 17s, yeah. So there's such a range of bodies. There's, you know, huge people. There's tiny people. You know, and you're going. It's still 8th grade, and it's real hard to see where people can go when they're not playing open.
Exactly.
When they're not playing against men, and it's cool to see. You know, the big input he had and the big, you know, the shift that he put in was awesome. And I'm excited to see his development. But I think, it's just the rounding out of those rough edges, and, you know, smoothing down these things. And, you know, he can step, he can throw a goose, you know, he can put a goosey on and do whatever. He's crazy. But it's about getting those fundamentals down as well. So I'm excited to see those grow and him to still keep his crazy athleticism.
Yeah, and I think from rumors, he was training in and around the first grade squad and all that sort of stuff in the preseason, and he's still so young. I think he's only 16 years old. So, he's still got a lot of time to develop in that. He's definitely got the body, the size, he's got the footwork. It's just all a little, like, the technical stuff. That does come a little bit later sometimes. Sometimes you get early, sometimes you don't. But when you're a big body size like he is, you do get used to just being the over dominance, just running over the top of certain people. That's definitely the new edge that you need to get to in his game, but he's got a ton of talent. Another name that really interested me, and I thought that he had a major impact in this game for kind of shifting momentum in the second half. I think that's where we sort of really took over this game and dominated towards the end. There was a little bit of stop-start at the start of it, but Amasio Tiatia, he came off the bench to 14. Brother, so the first thing I noticed out of him, he's got really good footy smarts. I think that's the first thing you notice out of someone like Bailey Hayward for the Doggies last year when we saw him in trials. He knew when to run, he knew when to pass, he knew to do certain things. I noticed that out of him too. I think during this period we put him on, he played as more of like a middle forward type hooker role. We kept our hooker on, and he was kind of jumping in when our hooker darted out from dummy half at times, and he jumped into dummy half and did a very similar thing as well. And really good impact sort of player off the bench, damaging ball runner, end up scoring a nice try in this game as well. But I just noticed when him, our number 16, Kenny Lafia Tau Nai, our number 16 off the bench, when him and Tia came off the bench, they changed the game. Their work rate in the middle was really, really impressive. I think he's someone to keep an eye out on. Our halfback, Ashton, I thought he played really, really well. Irimia. Obviously, his kicking game was solid. His goal kicking was really solid. Scored, obviously, 2 tries in this game to get us back into it. And pretty much nearly didn't miss a kick. I think he only missed 1 kick in this game, so a goal kick. So talented there. Salne Ma'asi, sorry, I'm butchering these names here, but number 4, the right side center that we had coming through the grade showed really good balance, especially that balance and offload for the Ashton Irimia to try. He was the one that came off that right foot, put the hand down, stayed off the ground, showed really good balance. Those sort of centers that I enjoy of like a Dane Gagai, a Jesse Ramian that have incredible hips, incredible balance. He showed a little bit of that ability. He's definitely someone to keep an eye out as well. And then number 8, the prop forward that we had in the middle, Lucien Makele. He, big body, got through a ton of work, had a lot of good moments there too. He connected with Kenny, number 16, for the in-goal trap that we had for a moment in that game. I'm pretty sure we scored off the next set as well. I think Manly were trying to work it out at our own end. Those 2 boys connected, pick up this younger bloke, dragged him back into the end goal, got us a repeat set. a big moment out of those two boys there too. So those are the names I want to shout out there, but definitely the big one I think a lot of people would be watching after this is Bishop Neal, just due to his size and his impressive movement in this game. But there was definitely a lot of other names. Like Tia was someone that I looked at and was like, oh my God, like I really enjoyed his game as well. So definitely someone to keep an eye on.
I think
out of that Harold Matt's game that you sort of kind of got your eye on or anything, bro?
I think you covered off most of them. There was another Idemia that you mentioned as well, but I think we'll be able to field a team of just them at some point, just the Idemia boys. At some point, I mean, Eddie will be able to play every position other than the ones, he can fill in the ones that we don't have. But yeah, no, I do agree. One thing I love about like Harold Matt's SG Ball, Jersey Flegg is watching the players with real high IQ. And when they have high footy IQ, it's just so special to watch because they're putting together their growing body and what they've got with all these new things they're learning, and they can put these guys who don't quite have that footy IQ yet. They can put them into positions that they need to be in, and when Tia came on, it was just like it changed the game. And the momentum shifts you have with the high IQ players is just something that can't be matched. And that's like another like Dylan Walker as well coming off the bench for us. Exactly. Like he brings that IQ on. He knows exactly what to do, and I think like it's quite underrated that what an IQ does to a team. So I think having Tia come on through the middle there and do what he did, it just like it sets us up so well, and it's something that again excites me so much for the next 5-10 years.
I can't wait, bro. I can't wait. He was someone that caught my eye very early on, like in that second half when I did see him come on. I was just like, oh, there's something about him. And then he started to know like his instincts are all there, and that's a big thing. It's like when someone's got good instincts like that, whether they grow into some sort of like they could grow into, but we're talking about 16-year-olds here and all that, like they can grow, put size on. He could become a really good edge back rower that has, like half instincts or, number 9 instincts that helps him out on like certain lines they need to run in certain moments. It always helps to have that in the back pocket. And I think his momentum changing moments that he had in that game, I thought it was a really, really big tick for Tia. And I think he's a name that I think should be talked about a little bit more when we're talking about, obviously, a lot of people, Bishop Neal, incredible size, incredible body, but Tia having that footy brain, I think that was a really cool little sight there. And then, unfortunately, our SG Ball side going down to Manly, a very strong Manly SG Ball side, 28-14. Disappointing one there. I thought the boys did really well. Both the sides looked really, really fit, I did believe. Like, they dogfighted it all the way to the end here. There was a point there where we came back. I think it was from a 14-0 deficit, or 16-0 deficit, sorry. We brought it to 14-16. And then later on, it blew out due to a couple of mistakes from a couple of our boys, a couple of errors, more of a footy IQ sort of thing. So there was a moment, I think it was a Tony Large, who was a big notable name for the Manly Seagulls and the SG Ball. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of him already. Put a nice little bomb into the perfect little position in the side of the field. And unfortunately, our little fullback that we had there just didn't know to put him in that certain position. Pauling, unfortunately, ended up putting his foot out, running into touch instead of, maybe leaving a ball in that moment. I can't remember if it was within that 40-20 sort of range, but it was just one of those moments that changed the momentum of the game. And a lot of those Manly forwards, like they had the Campbell Munn, that looks incredible for Manly, tall body, number 8, scored a couple of tries on us in that game, but his work rate was incredible, played the full 70 minutes. They've got a lot of very, very talented players in that Manly Seagulls side, so get excited for that for Manly Seagulls fans. But obviously with the Warriors, these are the names that I sort of looked over here and I really, really enjoyed. Compton Purcell was the number 2, the left-sided winger. Every time he touched the ball, you can tell he's a handful. Like, he just bounces off players. Really good footwork. Sorry, guys. My sickness is getting to me right now. Anyway, scoring a try to bring us close as well. He was getting himself in really good moments. He's someone to really watch out for, got good speed, but his tackle break ability at this grade was really, really noticeable. So I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more out of him. Kahu Kappa, we did get to see a little bit of Kahu. Had some poor moments as well. He had a couple of moments where he turned the ball over, but just the movement of him, he looks a step above that whole, like, that SG ball sort of, like, position there. Like, there's a moment later on where we got him into actual real good position, where I actually think that we got him one-on-one with that center. He had the big goosey, put it on the outside. He had the slight little step, like his passing ability. There was a period there where he ended up twisting his knee, and I think it did hamper him a little bit in the game. I thought that he was done, but he ended up playing through it. Obviously, being the captain, I do think that he just needs to turn it down a little bit. When you're a captain, I think he carried a lot of, thinking that he needs to be the one to get the boys out of the hole here instead of just allowing the boys to get out of the hole. But that's just, when they're young, that's just what happens. But Kahu definitely still looks like an incredible talent. Really good sized body. If you haven't seen him already, guys, just check out his highlights, stuff like that. He's definitely a future prospect that we have. You've seen a lot of Kahu?
Well, yeah, when players in SG Ball have like little highlight mixtapes, like so obviously there's something going on with them. And I think, when we brought him over, when we announced it last year, that was, I guess, one of those big fish that we were, looking to sign for our future. And it's someone that obviously, they've trusted him with the captaincy and they see a lot in him. And so I think for me, at least, I hope to see his progression. Like, I hope to see him obviously play out the SG Ball season, because it's quite a short season, right? It
is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then him to jump into that Jersey Flegg team and maybe even end the year and playing a couple of cup games. That would be my dream this year. Because like you say, he is someone that, to me, is just that little step above SG Ball. And if he develops well this year, seeing him run out for that cup team will be, it'll just be a dream, right? It'll be incredible. And to, have, Sio Kali on one side, Kahu on the other, it's just like, this is what we dreamed of when we, when these pathways were put in place. And, it's so exciting to see. And so obviously there's so much potential with him. And like you said, when they're that young, it's well, I've got to get us out. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And I think one thing I'd love to see from him is, like, as much as you are leading from the front, you're also leading from the back as well. And you're, pushing the boys forward as well as pulling them along with you.
Yep. Yeah, it's a difference between, like, watching other SG Ball sides. The Magpies, Western Suburbs Magpies, have this kid. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm falling apart here. They have this kid, Makasini, that plays center. And he sort of perfected, he didn't get himself too much into the game, as in the fact of, like, really chasing the game. He let the game come to him in a way. There's a particular balance, right? You don't want to have a notable name like the Katoni Stags with the Broncos. A lot of fans obviously wanting to touch the ball more, get himself involved more. You want to have a little bit of the balance of, you got to get your hands on the ball, get yourself into the game, but also understand that doing too much is a deficit to your team as well, and you end up finding errors and stuff. Boosh is loving it in the chat, bro. Good old Winnie Blues, bro. Long Beach, baby. Jump on it. But yeah, bro, like he obviously needs to learn that sort of side of it. And, like, Makasini's an incredible talent for the Magpies. Go check him out if you haven't. But Kahu, he's got that ability too. Like, you could tell, like, just by his movement that he's going to be something special. And there's going to be a little period with our flag side this year. Like, it's going to be a really interesting watch. I think it's going to be a hot ticket with Jet Cleary, Kahu Kappa. Like, there's going to be a lot of really incredible talents in that side as well. And if he gets in the cup, like, it's going to be a hot ticket to watch that as well. So definitely a really, really good little name there. Noah Jensen was someone that really impressed me as well. The number 6 that we had, really comfortable in his role there. He got the boys around the park in really good spots, kicked well, directed really well. After the first defensive miss, I think it was just a really good line run from Large. He just came off that right foot and just powered through the line. The kid's an incredible talent. After that, I thought he defended really, really well on that edge. Decent sized body for that 6 jersey as well. Just looks like these younger kids, bro. They're massive now. Like, it's crazy, right? But he looks so comfortable, bro. I'm really excited to see what he can grow into. Did you notice a little bit of Noah Jensen out there, the number 6 that we had?
Yeah, and I mean, it's always good to have those players that can lead us around the park. And it's good to see that coming through from our systems and not just someone that we've had to bring across from Oz to do that. And I think that's something that, again, will be really exciting to see when, it gets to Jersey Flegg and the competition for those spots, and, seeing him there and seeing that development and keeping them in our system and keeping them working within, the Warriors culture to then, play the Warrior way, whatever that may be in years to come, so that we can, bring him through. But he did just lead us around that park. I did think that was great. Like every highlight, he's in it. And I mean, Large just that was. He's a freak.
He's a freak, bro.
Yeah,
he's a freak. The kid's
so,
he knew, he's so comfortable in that role, Large. So he's definitely someone to watch out for. But continue, bro.
I think I was just saying with Large. I think if I was in like a 2 meter space and he was running straight at me, I'd still probably miss. That's how freaky he is, and so
just superstar.
And so that may have knocked his confidence to start, which I mean it always will when you're young. But it's the way he bounced back from that, and it's that almost like goldfish mentality of shake it off, like get it gone from the brain, and let's go again and let's move. And I think we did really well after going down 16 to go, all right, let's come back, let's do it. Let's bring it back. And then it's almost like when you go down 16 and you're trying to bring it back, there's a point, if you don't get level or above, that it almost feels like the last straw that kind of broke the camel's back. Like, oh, we just got there, and then now they've kicked on again. Whereas if you get in front, it's like, no, we're still in this game, we're still going. And it would have been interesting to see, like, had we scored one more try to put us in front by 2 or 4, just to see how we managed the game after that. Because it was almost that step too far for us.
Yeah, it was a really interesting game overall. Like, when watching these SG ball games and stuff, it's like, I take it for looking for the certain talents. Obviously, I want to see the team play really well together, but also understanding there's so many players in this squad that you're going to see mixing, matching, and changing. You kind of just want to see certain, like, movements from certain players and stuff. Not so more so looking at the actual wins and losses in the game. Obviously, it's really good to see if we get wins over and we win SG ball. Obviously, overall, that would be great to see a team come together. But also with development and that, you're going to see a lot of these players maybe get pinched out of SG ball and moved up somewhere, or, you don't see them again. So you don't get that cohesiveness. It's very similar to New South Wales Cup and everything like that. But definitely, as I said, like with that first little defensive moment with Noah Jensen as well, a lot of that was that A defender not working too hard enough and hit on that inside shoulder. And, obviously, Large just picking that right moment. But other than that, bro, he was really, really solid there. Augustino Filippo, I thought he was really solid in the middle of the park as well. The number 13, he's jumped up from a Haramat side of last year that won the premiership, jumping into SG ball, and he looks like he's just continuing on his strong streak there too. And Teparora Winera, bro. Edge back row on the side, left number 2, number 12. I think that I butchered that last name there, but still, Teparora, really, really talented. So when I talked about Bishop Neal, big body, good footwork, just need to work on the line running. The one thing I noticed about Teparora was he runs an amazing line, runs a solid line, and he's just as big. I would say he's around about the same sort of size, same height. He looks something like I'm really, really curious to bookmark him and see how far he can go. Unreal size and doesn't rely on his size. I think he ran a couple of really amazing lines and just he ended up coming off, I think, midway in the first half or maybe late midway in the second half, around about those ranges. But I'd come down to, I think he had a head knock or something. He ended up getting pulling off. But for the majority of the game when he was running that line for Noah Jensen, it was creating a lot of opportunities for pulling outside of him. And then when we hit him, you notice it too. Like his size powered through the line really well. He takes contact really well, obviously for the size of him, but just runs a really, really nice line. And that's great to see from a young junior like him that doesn't rely on his size. Did you notice number 12, bro, left side edge back row, big boy?
Oh my gosh. Isn't it so crazy? Like what we have. And like you said, like the hard lines, it's it's such almost a contrast from the Mats team.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to see like that progression, because I'm sure that it would have been the same when, if we had Mats, a couple of years ago, it would have been the same. And the way that he's been able to use his body and use it for the things that make a second rower a second rower. Exactly. I think that is exciting to see where, these younger players, will be able to, and the systems that we put them in, and obviously the succession that's been coming along. But yeah, man, just running hard, and every contact in SG ball looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
And
bro,
so
the
these
difference
guys,
of like, you watch Harold Mats, bro, and then you move up to SG ball, the jump there is like noticeably different. And then you watch that to go to your flag, and then obviously New South Wales Cup, you get to the men's. The difference is crazy, right?
No, man, honestly.
Incredible, bro. Incredible. So yeah, keep an eye on Tiparoa, Winera. I got to roll that R properly. I can do it with some names and other names. I can't roll that R, but I'll get better at it, guys. I do.
You'll
promise.
get there. You're sick. We'll go with that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to call it that too, right? No. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for the junior development. I'm sure Levon's going to do a little bit more around that area this year. I think we're going to do an actual show with it. Unfortunately, just with time constraints, I think this week, Levon's just chopped up in shorts and really spoke about it in moments, and obviously speaking about a show. But if you had anyone you looked at, guys, make sure you chuck in the comment section down below that you're looking into. Really excited for. A young fullback in that one, Pauling, had a nice couple of moments as well, but still a lot of learning to do as well, I do believe, in that position. He's got a ton of speed, though. He's a lightning rod, but he definitely had a couple of moments where he's still learning. Like, these kids, as I said, like, these are 16, 17-year-olds. They're going to take time in a grade, but it's good to see some of these names here, and very, very excited. I think the big notable name everyone's watching out for in SG Ball this year is Kahu Kappa, and how far he can really get into grade. I think he's the big name there, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, brother. That is pretty much us for it. Is there any questions to anyone in the chat? Is there anything more you really want to touch on, my brother, before we leave? It's been a really good show, man. You've filled in amazingly, as always.
Stop it. I'll give you my bank details after the stream. I think I'm just so excited for Friday night. Footy's back, man. Footy is back. How good.
Bro, bring it on, bro.
Oh, it looks like Jazz wants us to speak on our centers.
On our centers.
Ali and Pomps.
Ali and Pompey. You want to talk about Ali and Pompey? Obviously, yeah. We touched on him a tad. Obviously, Ali Leotard, we understand like how much, like, he's definitely a future talent that we're all excited for. He's got the building blocks. For me, when I look at him play, he reminds me a lot of Jesse Ramian, early Jesse Ramian. Come for the grade. Actually, one of my best mates pointed out of me, and I was like, bro, this is a young kid we have coming up. What do you think? And he was like, bro, he like moves like Jesse Ramian. And I was like, yeah, that's a sick comp. Really good balance, great hips, great fend. He can fend on either side as well. He's a ball carry on both sides as well, which is a really versatile center. But obviously the big talking point, Adam Pompey getting that position. Rocco Berry, obviously, from what the rumor is niggling injuries there. But also Adam Pompey, great cover in that position, great goal kicker as well. Just a solid member of our squad in general. Your thoughts on our centers?
Yeah, I think I'll start with Pompey because from 2023 when we had him there, and it was very to me it was okay, we have to have Adam Pompey. He can play like him and Mars. They work well together. Into last year where we go, okay, well he's not in the first grade team. Like he's we've got Rog, we've got Rocco. They're our two, and then Rog goes down. Or I think did Rocco go down first? One of them went down. Someone went down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we brought in Adam, and from that point, it was Adam Pompey was our center that we needed. And he shored up our defense. He's someone that wasn't like a superstar that you'd go, oh my gosh, look at Adam Pompey. But he's he's there. He does the job that you need him to do. And I mean, when we had him goal kicking because no one else in our team had ever kicked a ball before. The way that he shored us up there as well. And when he was gone halfway through the season, I think he was out for a couple of games or something, or you noticed it
Yep.
And so what I'm really excited to see is him, work for that spot. And if he gets the spot over Rocco, or if Rocco comes back slowly and maybe needs to come back through cup to gain some speed and get up to speed again, Pompey will do the job, and he'll do exactly what we need him to do. Ali Leatawa, he's honest, the most exciting. Every time I think about the Warriors and think about our future, he's our poster boy. That Sharks game last year where
incredible.
Oh my gosh, that break that he made.
Was it straight over the top of, from memory, straight over the top of Nico Hines and that, straight through the line?
I mean, who else could he run over, other than the best player in the comp, But the way he runs, the lines he runs, the steps that he has, or when he puts it all together, he'll turn into a generational player for us. And if he can put it together consistently for the next 10 years, he's overtaking, every other center we've had,
Yeah.
Like he's someone
there will be talks of Kiwis, I believe, in future, right? He's got that ability.
Did he play Kiwi A's in 23, I think?
I think he played on Rocco the wing. Played on one side, and I think Ali played on, I'm trying to think if he played on wing or whatever. Yeah. Because Tane played in the 6 jersey, and I think Keanu Kinney was a fullback. Yeah, it was that series. Really interesting.
What a squad that is.
Crazy, right? And I think Tanner was supposed to be in that squad too, and I think he did his knee from memory. He ended up getting pulled from that squad. I can't remember what happened with Tanner in that series, but he got pulled from that. But yeah, bro, Ali, he's got that potential, right? He's been around that Kiwi sort of development stuff, like Kiwi A's. I think the big thing that you're touching on, certain games, I can't really remember a game where like Ali Leota's come in and he's not had moments where we all looked at and gone like, he had a quiet game with us, right? Like the Raiders game, Croker's 300th, the Boo game, had amazing moments against like one of the better, centers in the game, right? And his 300th game, like for his first game.
Oh, it was so good.
As you said, bro, like, moving on, you had the Panthers game last year where we were pretty much, down in a deficit with the amount of depth that we had missing out of that squad. And the amazing line he had off of, Tamati Martin, scoring a try in that game, having really great moments against the best team in the competition. I know they had a couple of injuries in that game as well, but still amazing moments in that game. The Dolphins game where, he had that game-breaking moment where, barnstorming down that wing. I was there live. I got up off my seat, and then unfortunately when he dropped the ball and he got kneed in the head, we didn't get to see anything later, but you could just feel like something was special was going to build with him in that game there. And then he had that Sharks game at the end of the year where everyone was like, okay, all right, now we've seen it enough. We've seen it that many times now. You're something special. We want to see more out of him, bro, righto?
Absolutely. I think, I'm excited to see the competition in the centers. It's the first real time that we've had huge competition there. And it's like our halves as well, right? Like used to be, SJ and whoever, and then they would fight it out. Whereas like, our centers used to be, I'm trying to think, we haven't really had like high and notable centers
recently, right? Bro, where we had Viliami Valia, we had Rocco Berry, we had like those interchanges of the centers there with Peter Hiku and stuff. And we're trying to bring through Valia. Everyone's like, Valia, we need Valia in there. And then he was up and down in moments too. We just couldn't have a proper rotation there. I think from years past, Salomon Akata pretty much just got given a role, and I can't remember any other center that was really pushing him out of any roles there too. So you're 100% right. We're in a position now where there's actually people fighting for these positions.
Well, and that's the thing. And then we bring through Sio Kali in a year, and it becomes even more hotly contested, And I think
Kahu Kappa.
The Kahu Kappa as well, yeah.
Yep.
So we've got such good center depth now for, a couple of years from now. But these guys fighting it out this year will tell exactly, what our future is going to be. And if it is what I hope it ends up being in Ali and Rocco, because they are so different, but so it's weird. It reminds me like Rocco and Ali together remind me a little bit of like Herbie Farnworth and Katoni Staggs. Like Herbie's quite like a, obviously not to that level because they're both superstars, but Herbie is, someone who was straight and narrow, was high work rate, defensive, did everything you need, and Katoni Staggs just on the other side breaking the game. And with Rocco and Ali, I think that's gonna be our future. And if we can hold on to them and keep them, that'll be like that. It'll just like revitalize our center position, which we've never had.
Yeah, bro, and they're starting so young too. Like Rocco's had a ton of raps. Coming from rugby union when we pinched him from I think like there was rumors that like he was in the All Black system, right? Like that the All Blacks were looking at him for when he was a younger age. And we brought him over, and he was learning rugby league in those first couple of years, in those COVID years, and I think he had a really harsh little period there where he had those moments in the COVID period, and I think a lot of Warriors fans written him off because of the fifth and last plays that he died with the ball, or, tried to do something too much and stuff. But now he's grown to that role where I think that he was a big miss for us last year. Like defensively, he gets through a ton of work. Like I think a lot of people, when we had a lot of defensive instability last year when Rocco was trying to overwork for Shawnee, he was covering on his inside and then pushing out late, and you end up trying to, he had that real low legs tackle, which you can't do too much as a center, but he was trying to cover so many different positions in that role. I think with Tamaite inside of him, a little bit younger, a little bit more better defensive halfback as well, probably helps him a little bit more in that area, and we're seeing more growth out of him in that wing, that center role. So, and then over with Ali, as you said, just strike, bro. Like you see that through him, and defensively has an amazing work rate defensively as well. I haven't seen him been beat too much in each and every game that I've seen him into in first grade. I think he's only missed 1 or 2 tackles every game. I think that first game against Garrett Croker, I don't think he missed a tackle in that game. Like, he's defensively really, really sound. Bro,
locked up a 300 gamer is crazy. Like in your first game to lock up, and then also like do your hamstring and still continue playing.
Yeah, unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable, man. So many memories that 2023 season.
Oh my gosh, man! I think that game, that Raiders game was one of my favorite. I haven't really been very high on Jared Croker ever, and so to ruin his 300th game was.
You went high on one of the nicest men in rugby league, right, Josh? That just brother.
I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is. But I just, it was the best feeling watching Ali, our debut boy, just lock him up and run around that old man.
You're crazy, man. I love that about you, Josh. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like to go up against a guy that's 300 gamer, and like a lot of people hold him such high regard, and to do that, like, bro, you're 100% right. Spoiled the party, as they say, right?
Absolutely. That was cool. That was their little slogan going into that week, spoil the party. Yeah.
It was good, man. It was good. I remember actually from memory before we filter out, but I think when I started watching that game, I was working night shift at the time, and I had an earlier finish in the afternoon. So I actually had the game playing in my car while I was driving. And I think we went down a try or 2 tries early. I think we had the sin bin of Mitch Barnett. Was it Maratane Kore or Mitch Barnett? I think it was Mitch Barnett got sin bin. And then we had a real shocking call where Corey Horsburgh tried to fight Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and he got the penalty somehow. And I was sitting there, I was like blowing up in my car. I was like, what's going on? And then Shawnee puts this kick into the corner where Dallin catches the ball straight, in between the try line. I was like, we're on tonight, boys. We're on. I was like, we're down to freaking 12 men and we do that. Incredible. So, yeah, bro, incredible year. Incredible. Hopefully we kind of find that again.
Shawnee coming back in that game as well after being knocked out pretty much, and getting that intercept.
How he got back on, I have no clue, bro.
I think I had the photo of him like smiling, as he caught the ball, smiling through the line. I had that as my like home screen for so long on my phone. It was just so good. It made me laugh every time I saw it.
You're a beast. And an incredible ball to friggin' Luke Metcalf there too. Man, what a year. Hopefully we can find sort of that sort of similar type of year this year, and hopefully we can get there. But guys, any other questions before we filter out, guys? Again, we appreciate every single one of yours. Augustine Salt, where's Lecker? I'm not too sure. I haven't heard any rumors of injury and all that. So maybe resting him for next week's game, which is going to be more of the, I'm going to not say second unit, but yeah, I don't know. And I pray it's nothing serious because, yeah, I think we're both massive fans of Leka, right? Like we want to see Leka there. I think out of the juniors that we have, like I want to take Vaimwanga out of that because I think Vaimwanga is the next cab of the rank, right? He's the one that's playing first grade right now and that, but with the, like, when we had Zion Ma'u, when we had Jacob Laban, Leka Alasima, Ali Alator, Leka was like the guy that I saw first and I was like, I love, like, he's got like Jeremiah Nenai's skill set, but aggressive.
Absolutely.
He's aggressive. So yeah, he's definitely a big fan, but yeah, have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't. I need to know your sources, because you come with the latest info.
Right, that for some reason the NRL, like, you know, you hear stuff all the time, and the Warriors are like one of the hardest clubs to try and find stuff on anyway. But you get them out of random sources everywhere. So
yeah,
yeah, bro, wherever you can find
one thing I did want to ask, who do you think is on our bench for round one?
At the moment, I'm actually conflicted between two different looking sides. So my first one that I ran out there with, I had a hooker to cover, obviously, for Wade Egan. I put Freddie Lussick just to start the season because I want to see Sam Healy like learn our systems first, and then he'll probably end up still in that spot. So I went Freddie. Actually, I have a list up in my notes. I had Freddie Lussick, Dylan Walker. Where are we here? Freddie Lussick, Dylan Walker, Vaimwanga, and I had Jackson Ford off of the bench. I had Maratini Corday starting on the edge, but now obviously Maratini Corday looking like he's probably going to start in the middle. Jackson Ford will probably push to that edge back row role now. Maratini Corday off the bench. The other way I was looking at it, push Lussick out of the squad. I'd have Walker at 14, Vaimwanga, now near Kore, and probably Tom Ale probably be the other prop forward coming off the bench there. But where's your head at with that bench role? Because they're the two I got in my head.
Yeah, I definitely think it's closer to that second one. Like the obviously Walker and Vaimonga will be there. I would love to see personally. I'd love to see Leka start. Leka Halasima start on an edge, and so have New Kore coming off the bench, and then that like last bench spot can kind of go to anyone, right? Yep. So Tom Ale is there, Jackson Ford is there.
Yeah, Jacko, yep.
Again, I'm not opposed to it being Laban and having and having New Corday focus solely on the middle, but I think like when you do that, it kind of takes away from our versatility, right? And to me, I think it would be great to see a Healy or a Lussick on the bench at that 17, just someone to cover, even if it is CHT. I don't think, some people are saying play Tane off the bench or, CHT off the bench. Like I don't think that works well for us. No. I think we are big. We're a big team, and if we use our power, especially now with the minutes that AFB has left us, like Fisher Harris doesn't play that 60-65, he plays the 45-50, and so to have an extra 15 minutes of middle, like I think we need to go big. So I'm tossing between Healy, Lussick, or Ale, Laban. That's kind of where I'm at. Those are the 4/Ford as well. Like those are the 5 fighting for that last spot for me.
Yeah, and we're in a very strong spot in a way, especially in the competition. I did a lot of predicted team lists for a lot of teams coming up, and around the teams that we were around last year, obviously finishing 13th. So a lot of the lower sides, their depth past that like top 17 gets real dire. And even some of the sides where you're talking about, some of the top 8 sides that we're fighting out with, like maybe the Newcastle Knights and that very similar in a way. Like they have a lot of people that probably have to push for debuts to find themselves in those roles there. Where the Warriors now, we're at a point where we've debuted Laban, we've debuted certain other players, but we still got Tom Arles, still got Bunty Afolters there. Adam Pompey will probably end up getting pushed into more of a depth role when Rocco Berry gets healthy. So we're very blessed at the moment to have a lot of depth. So that bench rotation can be so many different sort of looks. But I completely agree with you. I'm sort of swaying towards the hooker to start with. More of the fact of like, I don't really want to see Aaron Clark or Walker cover that hooker if something goes down. We saw it last year at moments and it didn't really suit. Like Dylan Walker at hooker, I don't like it. But I also think that when we run like a Dylan Walker bench sort of like makeup, we got really good rotation now with our forwards where we can do a double change with Fisher, Harris and Barnett and have a very Penrith sort of feel of like not having Fish be the guy to fill in like the long minutes of Adam Fedor-Blake or Tohu Harris and have a bit more of a rotation there to have a double change. So bring Barnett and Fish off or keep one of them on and have like a 45-minute change between them. And then bring in Vaimwanga and stuff like that through the game and really spell certain teams and then put Fish on back late in the game and change momentum back in our favor, right? I like that sort of look. And I think losing that when we have missing one of those boys off the bench probably doesn't suit us as well. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like Wade Egan can get through 80 minutes and is solid without that head knock issue. I think we can definitely go with that bench for sure. But just Wade Egan with his head knocks and stuff like that, I think the club would be looking at more of a 60-minute role for him now or whatever and try to work it out around that, right? Oh, boosh.
Bro, that's my appearance fee.
Look at that, bro. $10 New Zealand. Thank you so much, Boosh. Great stream. Looking forward to another great year of high-class content from the team. Rock up. Waz up. Let's go, baby. Let's go. And thanks, a question Boosh. Here from Jazz as well. Earlier on, Waz Up TV, do you agree that Nick Cordet should be moved on if he can't fire this year? I understand injuries, but we paid overs for him. By the way, no hate. I actually love the guy when he's on. Yeah, it's a curious one. Obviously, yeah, holding up about 800K in our cap. How many years left do we have on him on contract? I haven't looked into his contract too much, but
could be 2, maybe something like that.
Yeah, probably around about that range. For me, like, yeah, he's definitely coming to a point now where, like, suspensions, he had suspension issues in his first year with us there and then had the recurring injuries. We definitely want to see him on the field more so than not. I want to see him grow into that middle role, and I think that he can do so. So I like him in that role, but for his price, maybe we could do more so. So, yeah, and to be a better team in the future, we do got to be a little bit more ruthless in this area as well. But... yeah, it's tough to say that just yet. I just want to see him out there. But if he doesn't fire, I can definitely see him on the chopping block for me. What do you reckon?
To me, I don't think so. I don't think that's something we should be doing in our culture. Yeah. I mean, like, reading the Ivan Cleary book, they implemented that. I don't know if you've finished it or not, but they implemented that. They don't ask players to move on. It's only if the player wants to move on, they'll let them go, but they, let players see out their contract. And so that's that builds the culture, right? And so to me, what we saw of 2023 New Corday versus 24 New Corday was someone who was settled in their role in 23. They were inside Sean Johnson. Both didn't get injured pretty much the entire year, and built that combination together. And he was a second rower. That was his whole stick, right? That was what he was doing. This, 24, he knew hybrid role, because we brought over Kurt Capewell. So he had a hybrid role of middle and edge, and he started real well in that first game, and then hurt his foot. I think he broke his foot. Was it in that Dolphins game in the trial?
Preseason, yeah.
And then he was out for 11 weeks, And so to come back in after 11 weeks out with a foot injury, which you can't keep up your fitness that well with, that's not an injury where you can just go for a run, and like it's not something you can do. And so I think that he, with a full preseason behind him and being able to get properly assimilated into his role and know exactly what he's up to this year, I think we'll see a renewed New Corday. I actually really like him off the bench. I think he's going to be a big spark for us, and he's going to be a big presence when Fish and Barnett come off. He's going to be that leader that comes on, and okay. So that's going to be really interesting. And I also think we don't need cap space at the moment. We've got too much.
We've got a ton now, right? We've got a war chest, and we're coming for those players out there, baby. They better be watching and that. But I completely agree too, bro. Like, I do hope, obviously, he kicks on again this year and continues to grow in that role. And we saw with the Kiwis, I was quite impressed with his Kiwis performance as well. So he's in around the Kiwis camp. And you're 100% right as well with, like, culture and to do in the background, like, as you said, with the Ivan Cleary book, and have players, like, if they'll move on, not having us to continue to move on. Because, like, a lot of people have the thought process of putting a lot of pressure on a player and that's going to make him into a diamond. But sometimes that's just not how it works in professional sport at all. Like, a lot of players play their best sort of football when they're comfortable. Like, you usually see when players, like, sign a good contract locked in for a decent deal, they'll play some of their best football now because they know they're settled. They know where their head's at. When you start putting a lot of pressure on certain players, sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. It ends up shaking up not just like Nimrata Niakore, let's say Nimrata's really close with, let's say, Leka Alasima. And, obviously Nimrata gets offside, Leka gets offside. And again, bro, this is all coming from playing Football Manager, bro. Like, I was playing, bro, if you don't know anything about soccer, but I was taking over Roma FC, right, in Italy. And as a centre-back for Roma, that's just like, his mentality in the game is just aggressive, right? But he's a part of the leadership group. He was worth a lot of money. I went straight in there. I was like, bro, you're gone, brother. You're not with us. So I pretty much was like, yeah, I'm going to sell him to other teams. Bro, I had 3 other players that wanted to leave with him. And I was like, no, but I like you guys. I just don't like him. But that's what happens in professional sport. Like, you got to bring a group together. And that's what the Panthers do so well, is they bring a group together. And a group together that are so cohesive, and that they end up playing the game plan better than any other team, right? Sometimes with football, you can run certain game plans, many different game plans. There's many ways to skin a cat. But the big key thing is cohesiveness, teamwork, and mentality always win you football games. I think that's always been the point. When you have a team that stays together for a long period of time, like the Melbourne Storm had for all those years, the Penrith Panthers have had that with, like, all their junior grades. They all came through together. They build a group together. Like, when it gets to the hardest moments, you're turning to a guy that you've played footy with for the last 15 years that are all happy. That's when you got to get the best results. So I agreed with that. I like that. And
did you, in Football Manager, did you call the team the Romois or?
Oh, brother. Listen, I was straight out of that build. As soon as it was Mancini, I'm pretty sure his name was. As soon as that all went down, bro, I was like, delete this load, go to a different side, and retry everything again, bro. I had nothing to do with that. So I'm definitely not Webby, right? I'm not Webby. I can't be Webby. But rugby league, like, they have a rugby league manager, bro. Rugby league manager, it's mud. It has nothing to do with, like, it has nothing like that Football Manager. Rugby league manager, get better, and I'll play that game so much.
Bro,
like,
we'll start a channel.
Yeah, bro. That'll be gangster. All right, guys, is there anything more that you guys want to know before we leave the chat? I'm seeing a lot of Bailey Sironen. I've seen a lot of Bailey Sironen in chat for the last couple of nights now. Everyone's loving Bailey Sironen again. Obviously, he had a couple of good moments, but yeah.
That Knights game, that try that he scored.
Yeah, recency bias. I'm sure he's playing really well over in Super League. Yeah,
I hope he's enjoying France.
Yeah. I think that'll be it, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for all tuning in. Thank you so much again for Tahi for the massive shout out on Levels Podcast. Thank you so much for Level Podcast for shouting us out. Thank you so much for Josh for the big lift of jumping on the show today. He was so keen, so excited to talk. He put actually in the chat, he was keen on talking about Shinohara Stavida and Luke Metcalf being halves pairing before the team list came out. You still happy, brother? You still happy?
Oh, look, I'm happy that it's Team List Tuesday. I'm happy that there's footy on Friday.
Nah, again, bro, I appreciate having you on. You're a complete natural jumping on here. Obviously, guys, you know Joshy from the chat, but I'm sure Josh is willing to jump on every so often if we're needing an extra hand and all that. So, and shout out to Levon, he'll be back on in the future. But anything more you want to add, Joshy? Thank you so much again.
Just make sure you guys join the channel, join the first graders. I mean, there's so much perks, bro. I'm ready to beat everyone at Supercoach. I'll send some Minez messages in the WhatsApp as well. Like, it's so worth it, man. And so join the channel. There's a join button somewhere. Like it up, subscribe. And yeah, if you wanna have me on again, keep leaving it in the live, man. Keep leaving it in the comments.
Bro. We're keen, bro. We're keen. You're definitely one of our favored members that we have here at Wise Up TV. But yeah, guys, what's your Supercoach team too? By the way, what's your name? Give us
I'm not actually sure. I'll have a check.
Have you got an interesting name?
It's probably like now, Cleo. I think it's Cleo. Because when I first made my first NRL fantasy team, one of my friends used to the whole it's so embarrassing, but the H2O Mermaids, like the Cleo, and he would say that all the time, and I made it to mock him, but then it just became my team name from then. So it's just Cleo, bro.
You're a beast, bro. I knew when I first saw you with that punters and dribblers hat on your head, you've got some interesting stories about you, right?
Shout out, Hello Sport Boys. We're on the same level now, so guys.
Your levels. I love it from you, bro. And if you jump in, guys, if you're in the membership, you're going to be going up against the 10 Tenors, brother. That is the Ash's name. It took me a while to think of something like that. I want to try and get creative, but the 10 Tenors. But obviously him not featuring in our first grade squad, I might need to change that as well. Who knows? I might keep that name. 10 Tenors. I like that.
Also, you'll be coming third in the league behind us too, but I'm sure it'll be fun for you guys as well.
You don't know, brother. You don't know. Your boy Ash has been in this game for a long time now, brother. It's going to be a real good year of Supercoach. I cannot wait. I'll be up in that chat soon.
Oh, absolutely. Excited. Cheers for having me on. I appreciate it. Love to be back.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you all guys in the chat. As always, appreciate you. Take it easy. Up the wires, baby. Up the wires.
What's up?